If you want to teach your kids the most important lessons of your childhood, or you just want to feel like a little kid again yourself, then join us as we find out what happened to all the talking animals and beloved teachers from these 90s educational shows. Reading Rainbow debuted on PBS in 1983 and ran for 21 seasons until 2006. Hosted by LeVar Burton, the series encouraged viewers to engage with the world around them through the power of literature. Despite its popularity, Reading Rainbow consistently struggled with funding. As Burton explained to Media Bistro, things ultimately came to a head in 2002 when the No Child Left Behind Act shifted public broadcasting's focus to more foundational education.
The mandate is to teach kids how to read, the rudiments of reading, and there was no money in the budget to encourage, to foster a love.
Reading Rainbow was taken off the air in 2009 after its broadcast rights expired. Thankfully, though, it lives on in multiple forms. Following a successful Kickstarter campaign in 2014, Burton and business partner Mark Wolf released Skybrary, a digital library with digital field trips akin to the show's documentary segments. Additionally, Burton hosted a short fiction podcast called LeVar Burton Reads from 2017 until 2024. Blue's Clues was Nickelodeon's first explicitly educational series, and one of the first shows to directly involve the audience in a narrative format. It was a massive hit for Nick, and remains one of the most successful children's programs ever made.
Blue's could do, we can too.
The show arrived on Nick Jr. in 1996 and produced 6 seasons until 2006. During this time, Blue the dog became one of Nick's most recognizable characters. The series unceremoniously ceased production in 2004 to make way for Blue's Room, a spin-off that featured a talking puppet Blue in her playroom, which ran for 2 seasons until 2007. Both series aired through reruns on Nick Jr., and Blue's Clues is currently available to stream on Paramount+. The franchise now lives on through Blue's Clues and You, a reboot to the original series with the same formula but updated animation. Most notable is new host Josh De La Cruz, who replaced previous hosts Steve Burns and Donovan Patton, who both made appearances on the new show. The reboot also spawned a streaming film, Blue's Big City Adventure, which premiered in 2022. In 1960, Sherry Lewis introduced audiences to her wisecracking sock puppet Lamb Chop on The Sherry Lewis Show, which would be canceled after just 3 years. But then Lewis and Lamb Chop returned in a big way 3 decades later on Lamb Chop's Play Along. It earned Lewis 6 daytime Emmys and turned the Song That Doesn't End into every parent's worst nightmare.
This is the song that... Charlie, horse! No, stop. Charlie, stop. I want you to go away. Go away.
But unlike the song, the show would in fact end, but not until after airing 4 seasons and 84 episodes. But that was only because Lewis was developing a spin-off series, The Charlie Horse Music Pizza, which would last for only 23 episodes as Lewis was diagnosed with incurable uterine cancer in 1998. 46 days after filming what would be her final segment of the show, she passed away after contracting pneumonia. Her daughter Mallory Lewis continues her mother's legacy by performing Lamb Chop around the world and on Cameo. Lamb Chop's Play Along was never released on home video. While many episodes have been uploaded to YouTube, some are considered lost media. Based on a hit series of computer games, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego is a fast-paced quiz show that aimed to teach young gumshoes geography and world cultures, all while pursuing the titular criminal mastermind.
Carmen Sandiego and her pack of vicious villains have struck again.
After 5 successful seasons on PBS from 1991 to 1995, the show was replaced by a spin-off series called Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego. The change was instigated by the show's producers, who wanted to retain the show's formula but freshen it up to compete with newer PBS programming. The focus shifted to world history, but it wasn't enough to maintain sponsorships, as the new series would last for only 2 years. 2 additional shows in the franchise would be produced, both of them animated, Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego on Fox and Carmen Sandiego on Netflix. Currently, the only place to find episodes of Where in the World is through scattered home recordings uploaded to YouTube. Until 2022, it was always a wonderful kind of day on PBS. That was thanks to Arthur, the longest-running animated series based on Mark Brown's popular coming-of-age book series. The show began gracing American households in 1996 and ultimately ran for 25 seasons, making it the country's longest-running animated children's series ever. Not bad for a 4-eyed aardvark.
AARDVARK.
In 2021, PBS surprised Arthur fans around the world when they announced that the show's 25th season would be its last. An official reason for the cancellation was never revealed, although the amount of episodes per season had been in steady decline since 2016. According to writer Kathy Wall, the show had already ceased production in 2020, much to the dismay of its creative team. As of 2025, Arthur continues to air reruns on PBS Kids, along with new short-form content. Throughout its run, Arthur became one of the most memed shows on TV. Iconic reaction images images include Arthur's clenched fist, as well as DW with creepy bags under her eyes. Mark Brown got a kick out of this, telling Yahoo in 2022, "It's been really fun to see these young adults who grew up with Arthur use these symbols and references in their daily life as adults." Bill Nye the Science Guy combined science and silliness so well that it effectively became America's science classroom. Nye was technically an engineer, not a scientist, but he nonetheless educated millions of children about all kinds of empirical concepts, from the periodic table to the water cycle. The show aired for 5 seasons on syndication from 1993 to 1998, with Nye believing it had simply run its course after 100 episodes. Plus, there were budget cuts to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which was a key sponsor for the series. Thankfully, though, the entire series is now available online for free. After his signature series ended, Nye would go on to host 3 more educational programs: The Eyes of Nye, Bill Nye Saves the World, and The End is Nye, a docuseries exploring apocalyptic threats through a scientific lens. It was never a normal field trip with Miss Frizzle and the Magic School Bus. Based on a series of scholastic children's books, the show took an inquisitive elementary school class on a number of incredible adventures in the name of science. Each episode was filled with larger-than-life creativity that inspired generations of kids. The series began on PBS in 1994, and then in 1998, Scholastic ceased production, partly because PBS was no longer able to financially support the series in the wake of newer programming. Scholastic opted to sell broadcast rights to the Fox Kids network, and it continued bouncing around networks until 2012, after which the entire series was released on DVD. In 2017, Netflix started airing a revival called The Magic School Bus Rides Again. It won over critics and audiences and ultimately ran for 2 seasons and 4 specials. On Dragon Tales, Max and Emma's magical adventures in Dragonland taught children how to overcome emotional and social challenges through personal growth and working with others. And hey, who wouldn't want to learn life lessons while hanging out with fire-breathing dragons?
Idea.
Dragon Tales began airing on PBS in 1999 as part of its PBS Kids block, but then in 2004, PBS Kids was replaced by the cable-funded PBS Kids Sprout, which was aimed specifically at preschool audiences. Following this change, no new episodes of Dragon Tales were produced, although by this point there were already 94 episodes. Reruns continued to air until 2010, when PBS declined to renew its broadcast rights, although the show remains available on home video and can be watched online for free. Children's television is ultimately about children, and Zoom understood that better than any show. It made the radical move to center kids as the hosts, allowing young viewers to see their peers on screen and participate with them in arts and crafts projects and fun games. The first version of Zoom aired in the 1970s and was rebooted by PBS in 1999. The update welcomed a new generation with a poppier theme song and a more diverse cast. The revival was initially successful, although it ceased production after 7 seasons. According to Zoom executive director Kate Taylor, this was a result of steadily declining viewership in response to an increase in new programming. While a majority of the series has since been uploaded to YouTube, certain portions of Season 1 were never archived and are now considered lost media. The older you get, the harder it is to find time to clown around. Maybe that's why PBS's The Big Comfy Couch has remained a nostalgic favorite since its premiere in 1992. Featuring literally larger-than-life sets and a hodgepodge of quirky characters, led by Lunette and her clown Molly, the series maintained an imaginative but comforting lightness that made it incredibly approachable for young children. The Big Comfy Couch's initial run lasted until 1996, after which Radical Sheep Productions lost funding. Then, in 2002, Tadpool Kids revived the series, and the original creative team returned to produce 2 more seasons in the hopes of reaching the coveted 100-episode benchmark for wider syndication. In the final season, the part of Lunette was recast, with Ramona Gilmore-Darling taking over for Allison Court, who had just become a mom. Today, the show is available to stream on multiple platforms, including Amazon Prime and YouTube. Barney and Friends premiered on PBS in 1992 and quickly became one of the channel's most popular shows, as the iconic purple dinosaur shined his light of positivity on a generation of children. The show was so huge that it even inspired several hate groups who couldn't stand the main character's relentless giddiness.
Are you feeling happy today? Oh, that's great!
But Barney's divisiveness never directly impacted his series' longevity. Indeed, it would go on to become one of PBS's longest-running shows, concluding production in 2010 after its 14th season. It continued to air on the channel until 2016, when the station opted not to renew the broadcast rights. Though Barney returned for reruns in 2018, its cultural ubiquity had been in decline after being overshadowed by other fresher children's programs. In 2011, Barney creator Hit Entertainment was bought out by toy company Mattel, who announced that it would be relaunching the brand. In 2023, Mattel revealed a new CGI version of the character for an animated reboot called Barney's World that premiered on Max in 2024. There are also plans for a film adaptation produced by Daniel Kaluuya. The puzzle place was designed from the ground up to feature an ethnically and culturally diverse ensemble. It followed a group of puppet children who learned lessons about recognizing their differences and fostering an environment of happy coexistence. The show began in 1995 on PBS and quickly became one of the station's most critically revered shows. 3 seasons would be produced in total, but by the second, it struggled to find sponsors amidst poor merchandise sales. By the 3rd season, many of the puppeteers had already moved on to other projects. It ceased production in 1998, with reruns airing until 2000. A collection of Puzzle Place VHS tapes had been released, but the show has never been available in its entirety on DVD or streaming. While some devoted fans have uploaded their own recordings to YouTube, over half the series is considered lost media.
Hey, Zabu!
If there's one thing that's guaranteed to mesmerize children around the world, it's funny-looking animals. Co-starring zoologist brothers Chris and Martin Kratt alongside the titular lemur, Zoboomafoo brought viewers up close and personal with the many furry friends who grace the presence of Animal Junction. Zoboomafoo premiered in 1999 and was an instant success for PBS, although it only lasted for 2 seasons and 65 episodes. When a show reaches a certain number of episodes, PBS will often simply send them to syndication through reruns, rather than keep producing more. This was the case for Zoboomafoo, which lasted on sister channel Sprout until 2011. The Kratt brothers would continue producing other nature shows, including Be the Creature, a series aimed at teens and adults, and Wild Kratts, a fully animated program with more fictionalized elements. Unfortunately, in 2014, the lemur who played Zoboomafoo, Jovian, passed away from kidney failure in his home at the Duke Lemur Center. Today, the entire series can be streamed online courtesy of Prime Video and PBS Kids. If you want to teach children about classic literature, just hire a talking dog. That was the idea behind Wishbone, starring Soccer the dog as the titular Jack Russell Terrier, with Larry Brantley providing the voice. Wishbone guided viewers through recreations of beloved books, from Shakespeare to Dickens and beyond. Each episode sported incredible sets, costumes, and makeup to properly immerse viewers in the story. Wishbone premiered in 1995, spawning 2 seasons and a TV movie called Wishbone's Dog Days of the West. It was embraced by educators and awarded for its immense craftsmanship, although only 50 episodes would ever be produced. Ultimately, it was too expensive to make and had little merchandising potential. After production ceased, reruns continued until 2013. Wishbone is now owned by Mattel, who intend to adapt it for the big screen. The original creative team has attempted to sell a reboot of the series, although none of their efforts have been successful. Currently, fans can watch the entire original series online for free, courtesy of creator Rick Duffield. In hindsight, most episodes of Teletubbies feel like nothing more than random images and sounds cobbled together. However, the adventures of Tinky Winky, Dipsy, Lala, and Poe managed to be educational enough to air for multiple seasons. A sun baby is still the stuff of nightmares, though. Imported from the BBC, Teletubbies premiered on PBS in 1998 and continued airing until 2008, 7 years after it ended production. The BBC wanted series creators Ann Wood and Andrew Davenport to continue producing episodes, though. But as Lala actress Nikki Smeadley wrote in her autobiography, Over the Hills and Far Away, they were adamant in their refusal. It was time for us all to move on and put our energies into new projects. In 2002, a spin-off called Teletubbies Everywhere premiered. Then, when the company Wildbrain acquired Teletubbies production company Ragdoll Worldwide, it sold the show's broadcast and on-demand rights to Nickelodeon, who brought the entire series to Nick Jr. and the Noggin streaming app. They also produced a revival of the original series that ran for 4 seasons from 2015 to 2018. Netflix would later acquire and redub the revival series and begin airing it in 2022. Every day was a new adventure with Caillou, the 4-year-old with endless curiosity and a tendency to throw tantrums. Each episode saw the titular youngster learning new things about the world alongside his mother, father, and younger sister Rosie. Whether it was how to treat others, how to sail a boat, or how to plant a tree, no day was an ordinary one. Caillou originally aired in Canada during the late 90s before coming stateside to PBS Kids in 2000. There were 5 seasons produced between 1997 and 2011, after which it aired in syndication until 2021, when PBS opted not to renew the broadcasting rights. However, the series was soon picked up by Warner Bros. Discovery as part of its Cartoonito children's block, which ran reruns until 2022. There was also a revival series called Caillou's New Adventures that ran from 2016 to 2023. In 2012, Caillou creator Cookie Jar Entertainment was acquired by Wildbrain. Following the show's run on Cartoonito, Wildbrain partnered with NBC Universal to reboot the series with 3D animation. 5 specials aired on Peacock in 2022, and a new season began in 2024. Fans can also watch full episodes of the original on YouTube. The Jim Henson Company was responsible for plenty of other wonderful television besides The Muppet Show and Sesame Street, including Bear and the Big Blue House. Hosted by Noel McNeil as the titular bear, the series followed a rambunctious group of animals living and learning together in Woodland Valley. Each episode featured musical numbers, including the Goodbye song sung by Bear and Luna that closed each episode. The series premiered on Disney Channel in 1997 before becoming a staple of Playhouse Disney, the channel's preschool programming block 2 years later. Production was halted in 2003 following the sudden passing of Lynn Thigpen, who voiced Luna. During this hiatus, Disney experimented with Breakfast with Bear, an hour-long spin-off made up of other shows stitched together with segments of Bear visiting real children's homes. Ultimately, both shows would end in 2006. As Disney had more than enough material for syndication, reruns continued until 2007. Following outcry from longtime fans, Disney added the entire series to Disney Plus in 2022. However, several episodes of Breakfast with Bear remain lost. Though McNeil has expressed interest in returning for a reboot, no plans have been announced.
And remember, home is wherever you feel best.
Inspired by the Railways series of books, Thomas and Friends followed a group of hardworking freight trains as they hauled materials across the island of Sodor's lush railways. There were plenty of lessons to learn on the job, including how to get along with others and how to manage responsibility. With over 580 episodes airing between 1984 and 2021, it was one of the longest-running children's shows of all time. Imported from the United Kingdom's ITV, PBS first aired the series as part of Shining Time Station in 1989. Beginning in 2004, PBS Kids aired the show on its own and kept it chugging along until 2017, when the broadcasting rights expired. Nick Jr. picked up the slack in 2018, followed by Netflix in 2020. Mattel acquired Thomas' parent company Hit Entertainment in 2011 and eventually chose to quietly end the series in 2021 and relaunched it as Thomas and Friends All Engines Go, which is currently airing on Cartoon Network and streaming on Netflix.